Hello to everybody, and thanks for joining us this week. I'm Nathan Flinchbaugh.
And I'm Amanda Reynolds. It's been very interesting this last week as the leaves have just begun to change here in State College.
Yeah, cooler temperatures on the way this week, too. Looks like autumn's finally here.
So it's all beginning to change.
We have a great episode planned for you guys tonight.
We sure do. We'll have a visit from some students in the Weather Risk Management Club, a feature about lake effect snow, the climate outlook, and of course, much more.
But for right now, let's start with Update in the Air.
We've all heard about the historic flooding that took place in South Carolina just a few weeks ago. This occurred due to a very specific set of situations all occurring together. The major player was Hurricane Joaquin, which moved up along the Atlantic coast, bringing with it lots of the Gulf moisture. While Joaquin stalled to the east of South Carolina, a low-pressure system was stalled to the west. Combine that with cool air from the north, we ended up with flooding of epic proportions. In general, large-scale flooding events in the eastern United States have a tropical system as part of the mix. A similar outcome happened 4 years ago when Tropical Storm Lee made landfall and Hurricane Katia was stationary offshore. These two systems brought nearly 2 feet of rain to the Virginia area.
A recent fracking study from Pennsylvania has tied water contamination to surface spills rather than contamination from deep underground, making the chemicals easier to target. Residential water wells near the Marcellus Shale fracking in northeast Pennsylvania were more likely to contain higher levels of diesel-like chemicals, especially if the well had a history of environmental and safety violations. However, the study found that contamination came from surface wells of hydraulic fracturing fluid, not fracking compounds that were injected deep underground. The research also found that contamination levels were not likely a threat to human health. Brian Drolette, a chemical and environmental engineering graduate student at Yale University and the paper's first author, called the results encouraging for local residents because they showed fracking fluids were not moving upward from the Marcellus Shale to shallower groundwater aquifers, at least not in the short term. The study authors commented this could help improve public health because residential wells near known surface spills could be monitored and targeted for treatment as needed.
With all of the drought in parts of the western United States, scientists have been looking for solutions to help with the lack of water. However, the solution may be as simple as just putting a barrel outside. Brad Lancaster from Tucson, Arizona has put together a 2,000-gallon cistern that collects storm runoff. Lancaster has written several books about how people can channel rainwater from their own personal use. In 2013, California made it legal to capture rainwater for non-potable uses, basically for irrigation. Since then, municipalities in California have been urging citizens to begin taking advantage of the rainwater rebate program. This is being encouraged this winter specifically because with the El Nino, this winter is expected to be especially wet.
After waves of cool air progress through the Midwest and Northeast this week, some areas may be cold enough for the first snow showers of the season by this weekend. Temperatures have averaged anywhere from 2 to 5 degrees above average since early September in Minneapolis, Chicago, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and Boston. The first push of cool air will be rather weak, but will erase the above-average warmth from the Midwest to much of the Northeast during the first part of the week. A second push will cause temperatures to dip a bit more late in the week. The third and most dramatic push could easily bring the coldest air of the season thus far to much of the Northeast over the weekend. Localized early morning freezing temperatures could extend from West Virginia to northern New Jersey and northward to central Massachusetts and coastal Maine. Areas most likely to see snow showers will be western Pennsylvania, western and northern New York, and the mountains of northern New England. We'll be back in a moment with more.
Thanks for tuning back in. We now have Kat and Amanda from the Weather Risk Management Club here to talk about the El Nino. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us. Yes, this El Nino is something that is important to discuss. We've been feeling the effects both economically and meteorologically. The Wall Street Journal says, quote, "With prices now in a depression and the El Nino weather pattern looming, the forecast looks more unsettled than normal."
That's right. This El Nino will be the prominent large-scale anomaly this winter, and we will really start to feel the effects starting now through early 2016, especially as we head into the winter here in the U.S.
So what is an El Nino and how does it form?
The interaction between the atmosphere and ocean forms El Niños. Warm ocean water warms the air above it and forms areas of low pressure, while colder ocean waters cool the air above it and form areas of high pressure. The air in the high sinks and interacts with the rising air in the neighboring low to form circulating winds. The combination of highs and lows and the resulting circulation patterns creates sort of an oscillation across the globe. This results in very different long-term weather patterns around the world.
Domestically speaking, this El Nino will bring warmer temperatures to the northwest portion of North America, more precipitation to the southern part of the continent, and patches of dry air to the eastern U.S.
What will these temperature and precipitation anomalies do to specific commodities?
Well, it is important to note that the impacts of El Nino will not play out the same way in all regions. For example, the El Nino brings dry weather to Southeast Asia that will damage crops, but the rainier weather in North and South America will lead to a larger supply of commodities, which relieves farmers in this area. But with all the rain, milling of sugar and harvesting of grains will have a negative impact on supply. Brazil will experience a boost in corn supply with Ethiopian coffee with benefit from increased temperatures.
So you can see that this warmer weather pattern is a global issue, and no one commodity or country is safe from its effects. The Wall Street Journal says, quote, "High volatility weather patterns are going to wreak havoc on the commodities markets." Kat just mentioned the microeconomic effects, but the El Nino does and will continue to influence macroeconomics as well. You can see from the graph that countries such as Australia, Indonesia, South Africa, and others will feel negative impacts on GDP in 2016. Later this year and into early 2016, these regions will experience hot and dry summers. Indonesia is the top exporter of nickel, which is mined using hydropower. You can see how this El Nino has a trickle-down effect and affects everything in the global economy.
Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to next week for more from the Weather Risk Management Club. Welcome back to the show.
With the cold snap in the Northeast this weekend, there may actually be a few flakes of snow near the Great Lakes.
That's right. Dan, Brian, and Alex from the Climate Dynamics class have more information on lake effect snow and its possible impacts for the Northeast.
With recent cold air outbreaks in parts of the U.S., it may seem at a glance that global warming has taken a vacation, or even stopped altogether. Lake effect snow outbreaks along the Great Lakes may be increasing not in spite of global warming, but as a result of it.
Wide open lakes give way to snowstorms in parts of the Northeast. Some residents in the Great Lakes area have witnessed several feet of snow in a single event this winter. While such precipitous amounts of snowfall may appear to herald more severe winters and not global warming, lake effect snowfall is actually inversely related to the amount of ice cover on the lakes. Less ice means more snow, on average. This means that the warmer it gets, the stronger lake effect events will be. The global temperature is increasing, and this affects how much snow and ice on average the Great Lakes will see.
With the Earth warming, this means warmer lakes. Lake effect snow needs at least a difference of 13 degrees between the lake and the overlying air. On average, the lakes have been becoming warmer, and this allows for a larger difference of temperatures during cold air outbreaks.
In the past 2 winters, ice coverage has reached over 80% in back-to-back seasons for the first time since the 1970s. Although recent winters have seen abnormally high ice coverage, it is on the decline. Rising global temperatures also keep the lakes ice-free for a longer period of time, allowing for unstable air to be present throughout the winter.
This very unstable air and extra water vapor present allows for large amounts of snow to fall downwind of the lakes, at times even more so than past lake effect events. For example, a storm in Buffalo, New York last November saw a whopping 70 inches of snow for just a single event.
Despite the cold and snow outbreaks and the large cover of lake ice this snow season, trends point towards global warming not only reducing lake ice cover in the last several decades, but even strengthening lake effect snow events overall. With upper level air remaining cold, warming lakes only serve to create a larger temperature difference, greater moisture, and greater instability in the air, all of which contribute to the magnitude of lake effect snow events.
Don't let recent cold snaps fool you. Global warming is continuing and affecting Great Lakes winters. For Up in the Air, we are Dan Rupp,
Bryant Sell,
And Alex Sokolowski.
Thanks for tuning back in.
We've seen cooler weather here the past few days in State College. Hunter is standing by at the climate wall to give us more on the forecast. Hunter.
Thanks, Nathan and Amanda. That's certainly right. We've seen some of these cooler temperatures over the past couple of days here in State College, and you know what that means. It's that time of year, and accordingly, we have the fall foliage monitor here, and as you can see over parts of northern Maine, down through parts of New Hampshire and Vermont, especially in those higher elevations, we're starting to see some very beautiful fall foliage conditions here, and towards central Pennsylvania as well. You can see, especially in the higher elevations here, some very good fall foliage conditions. So certainly over the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks, get out there and enjoy some of these beautiful conditions that we're seeing out here across the area. But again, it's that time of year. We're seeing those temperatures start to drop here in State College. Average high for this time of year, right around 63 degrees. That average low around 42 degrees. So definitely seeing those temperatures start to dip down a little bit. Here's a look at the average precipitation. This is for the month of October as a whole, right around 3 inches here. And you'll see the snow and ice category here, 0.4 of an inch. So we're getting later into the season. Not out of the question that we see some snow and ice conditions here as we get into the later parts of October. But fortunately, through the next couple of weeks, actually looks like we'll be above average in the temperature department. We'll have more on that in just a bit. But we do have some slight drought conditions to talk about here across the Commonwealth, especially here over in northeastern PA, just to the north of Scranton, off towards Lake Erie as well. Some dry conditions. Erie down towards Franklin and Bradford, seeing some of these drier conditions, including those of you down in the southern part of the state, just to the east of Johnstown, seeing some of these slight drought conditions. But again, very slight drought conditions. We're not talking about anything too extreme here, and we could actually see some slightly above average precipitation over the next couple of weeks to help aid in removing that drought. But here's a look at next week's upper air pattern. As you can see, a pretty decent ridge building in here over the east coast. That'll keep our temperatures above average as we go throughout the next couple of days. So certainly some good news after some of these cooler temperatures that we've seen here recently in central Pennsylvania. But here's a look at the temperature outlook again. The ridge building in. That'll mean our temperatures are well above average as we push off to the west here, across the parts of the Midwest, just to the south of Chicago, seeing some well above average temperatures. Here in State College will be well above average as too. In fact, just about everybody on the eastern seaboard looking at these above average temperatures. And as we push out west, really, the trend continues. Look at this. Just about everybody across the continental United States seeing the probability of above normal precipitation through this period. This is October 21st through October 27th, so the end part of October here. And as we push through parts of California, you can see Southern California, LA, up towards San Francisco, the above normal temperature trends, and that's something we want to keep an eye on, especially in some of these drought-prone areas in Southern California here. But as we move to the precipitation trends, as you can see here in State College, will be slightly above average to right around average, so nothing too extreme here in State College. But as we push off to the west, again, off towards Chicago and the Midwest, the upper Mississippi Valley, some of these same areas seeing the well above normal temperatures, also seeing the well above normal precipitation here. But again, pretty general trend here. Just about everybody in the east getting in on these above normal precipitation values. But as we shift out west, a bit of a different story. You can see the well above precipitation values kind of extending out here as we get towards Arizona, but pushing towards the coast, coastal California. Going to be below normal here over parts of Southern California, stretching up towards San Francisco. This is not what we want to see in some of these drought-prone areas, the below normal values of precipitation, as well as some of the above normal temperature values over the next couple of weeks here. So we'll certainly continue to monitor the drought conditions out in California, and we'll keep you up to date on all the latest climate trends here in central Pennsylvania. But that's all we have for this week's Climate Outlook. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Hunter.
Well, that does it for this week.
As always, a big thank you goes out to all of the Penn State students who contributed to the show and to you, the viewers.
Tune in next week to catch another episode, but for now, I'm Amanda Reynolds.
And I'm Nathan Flinchbaugh. See you next time, Up in the Air.